Oh, I've been waiting for this. This is the angriest I've ever been in a rant. They won't see me coming or going because no one at my school has any way of finding this. That's right, I'm going after my school, and I'm mad! Here's some physical evidence of how much I hated my school. This is my portrait photo from my first year in reception. And this is that same photo taken 13 years later. Notice the difference? Like happiness? That photo was shown at my graduation, in front of all my peers and their friends and families. I have issues. I won't name the horrible school that I went to because there is no doubt in my mind that if I did, they would craft a hefty lawsuit against me. All I'll say is that it was Anglican. That's bad enough, isn't it? I don't want to learn about the Bible again. I know what happens. Look out, Jesus! I can see Judas coming a mile away! When I say it was a horrible school, it wasn't that bad. I mean, it was filled with horrible people. One person tried to sand their tongue on an electric sander. One person ate a whole chili pepper to see if they could take it. Can you believe that it was the same person? That's funny though. I'm not complaining about that. But it raises the question, if this is the level of disregard they have for themselves, what could they do to others? One time I was playing basketball by myself and a group of bullies stole it from me, so it was a fair fight. I went to get a teacher and he told me, they're not stealing, they're sharing. And then he walked away! Nice one, Sherlock, you solved another case. No wonder he taught PE. Besides from me, they threw balloons pumped up with urine at 10-year-olds. The 10-year-olds also went to the school, so they probably deserved it, but objectively, that's wrong. The definitive statement to make when describing the people I went to school with is, they are the type of people that would laugh at Schindler's List. Sounds like an exaggeration, but that actually happened. I've never seen Schindler's List. It might be a hoot, but there are many pieces of evidence to the contrary. Number one, it's about the Holocaust. That's it. That's the only point I need. Going to school with people that lacked empathy, I was bullied a lot because, look at me. I look like Peter Parker before the powers. I described myself back in those days, and me now as a matter of fact, as Ralph Wiggum with self-awareness. Ralph Wiggum is innocent and good-hearted, but if you notice, he's always alone. But he was blessed with ignorance to not notice that. And even if he did, he'd go, where is everyone? Ooh, a light bulb, and quickly get distracted. The problem with me is that I am very aware of my surroundings, so I understood fully that I was all by myself. Not like a lone wolf. Every year I experienced the new bully, like the changing of the guard that did everything but. In year 8, the head bully was a fat Indian guy taunting others who were less chubby than him for being fat. That's a very black kettle. In year 10, they were children, 3 years lower than us because they knew they could get away with it. Have respect for your elders. You still believe in Santa, and I can so easily take that away from you. Speaking of elders, in year 11, we were bullied by year 12, so you had to play with us because no one in their year level would play with them, yeah. No one would play with them because they were jerkwads. I was also sporadically bullied by teachers. A gang of Napoleons who didn't have enough assurance in themselves to be in the same room as someone who was 6 foot. I don't blame you, I am as intimidating as a stick insect. The worst year was year 7 because I was bullied by my friends. People who had spent the previous years getting to know me and pulling their collective knowledge of my weaknesses to take me down to Isolationville. Population not even you. Their favourite gag was to make fun of my ability to have panic attacks easily and that I was crying all the time. This was later diagnosed as a mental disorder, but boy do they think it's funny. What gives me solace is that since we share friends on Facebook, I sometimes see new pictures of them. And they look like douchebags now! So at least I'm not the only one who hates them anymore. The general population does too. Yeah, I've seen a therapist! The first psych professional I ever saw was in year 7 at school, and based on the above track record, it's okay to assume it didn't go well. The first thing they did wrong was not tell me that I was going to therapy that day, and this far into the year, I was on edge, in the same way that Wile E. Coyote always was. Secondly, they made the announcement of therapy a very public event, which a lot of patients don't want. Instead of discreetly asking the teacher to pull me aside from class, they had to yell, "Daniel needs to go to therapy now! Where's Daniel?" The trifecta was hit when my therapist, who I am convinced hated me based on what he said, gave his 2 cents. I told him my biggest fear was public speaking, evidenced by it turning me into a sobbing, petrified, rocking back and forth "this actually happened to me" mess. So his advice was to get me to do an oral presentation every day in front of the entire year level until I stopped being afraid. That's a spicy meatball. So if I had a fear of dying, you would murder me and horrifically bring me back to life every day until I didn't overcome it, but became numb with fatigue. What type of therapist says that to a kid? My school's therapist. But I believe my nemesis was the principal. I never formally met him, but he was the physical embodiment of that school. And he didn't even show up to the last battle. 13 years of partially raising me, and he wasn't there for my final day because he was on holiday. A holiday that directly followed the term break. Because sitting on your work throne instead of the one you have at home must have made you so sleepy. All I knew about him was what he looked like. He wore glasses because he had bad eyesight, and he was losing his hair. Typical signs of a sinner. What was I supposed to learn going to that school? It certainly wasn't how to be a good person because there was a shortage on both sides. A teacher told this student, who had bullied me since day dot, who had been suspended from school for forcibly cutting someone else's hair, that he would make a good lawyer because he's the kind of guy that wants to see justice done. Oh, what's that? Is that the sound of history repeating itself? It is! Barabbas just got freed over the Son of God again! I have to make references to the Bible because in the small chance that someone from that school sees this, they're not going to be able to understand me without it. In the words of Richard Feidler, Jesus loves you, he just hates what you're doing. People were punished more for not wearing the $245 blazer than getting into physical fights, because it's more important to raise funds for that 5th Assembly Hall that no one you know will use. Quote from the newsletter. By using the words of a parent who spoke to me last year, thank you for not using our children as a marketing tool. They are worth so much more than a number. You value the whole person. Ironically, the child of this parent received an ATAR with university bonus points of 99. Ironically? Really? Don't use words you can't understand. Our road safety slideshow had sound effects. Serious pictures like this, coupled with audio like this. Like the aftermath of a wacky race. And education later, what we're left with is literally hundreds of moralless mongrels released upon the world like a disease who can do whatever they want because they went to a private school, spending their time standing in the middle of the parking lot blocking active traffic like they were asking for it. It's time for a sad story. I have to get this off my chest. Just think about Ralph Wiggum and it'll be over soon. Playing basketball introduced me to most of my friends, but it also introduced me to a lot of foes, some of which would only affect me. I noticed that things were fine if I, myself, wasn't involved in the game, so I stopped playing. But I had to keep bringing the basketball, of course. I didn't want to worry my friends. Well, I got to watch. I brought my own basketball to school and was intimidated out of playing with it for over a year. Where's my parade? While we were playing basketball, everybody else was lazing around, probably complaining about how their Angels halos were too heavy. So when the end of school awards arrived, the basketball players were the only nominees for the Jock Award. I know, me as a jock is hilarious. When the winners were announced, every single basketballer got their name called, except mine. They didn't know I was there. And I felt a wash of being overwhelmingly pathetic. It was like everything, not just the basketball, but everything meant nothing to them, while it meant so much to me. So much so that I've written over 2,000 words on them, and they probably couldn't even write 2 words about me, because it takes a very special person to know my first and last name. What happened to the meek inheriting the earth? Why is no one nice to me? I'm the meek! I'm at university now, and it is so much better. Or just filled with better people. Even if I'm by myself there, it's still better. Being in a white room, empty to the brim, is better than going back to the academy of the Horned Ones. There were good guys at my school, people who I admire because they stuck it out to help. My year 7 teacher, she was by my side for that year. She helped me cope with anxiety and depression, and she got as much retribution for me as she could carry. My friends, people who consciously made the decision to give me the time of day. They made me feel like I was less of a social outcast because they were with me too. Misery demands company. My year 10-11 teacher, Ms. Hill, Thomas, Bernice Mason, the teacher who taught me how to write. If I'm forgetting anyone, it's probably because you were caught in a repressed memory. That's how trauma works. The rest of you? Well, you should know by now, and I don't want to repeat myself. You have to keep up. Look at me now. I have a YouTube channel. My school turned me into the person that I am today. That's not a good thing! For so long, that place ate away at everything good, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't stop them. I felt so worthless. I still do. I'm still trying to control the memories of that place almost 3 years later. It is my responsibility, as a human with rights, to at least get one hit in. Will it be enough? No, but beggars can't be choosers. If this connects, stay down. For the both of us. Because I need to move on, and you need to shut up. To be fair, I didn't get to meet every single person at that school. I was too busy hiding in the bell tower yelling, Esmeralda! To those who I was never introduced to, hello, my name's Daniel. Rough day at school, huh? What's new, am I right? All they gave me before I shipped out was a helmet and a camouflage jumpsuit, which did not work because I kept getting shot. And the helmets were certainly not built for paintball purposes. I bet they just found random motorcycle equipment and thought that'd do. All the helmets were heavily worn and definitely on special at the time of purchase. These are the safety standards of paintball. I wear more protective gear when I go outside. Do I get weird looks from passers-by? I want to be as protected as the Michelin Man. Just